Mr. Azami. Thank you. Let me first share the slide. Alright, hello, Assalamualaikum everyone. I am Dr. Nur Zareen Binti Zulkarnain, and today I will be delivering a topic close to my heart, which is artificial intelligence. But before I start, I would like to take some time to tell you a brief story on my journey from UTP up to where I am today. Right, so as mentioned, I am an UTP alumni. So I was in UTP about 14 years ago. I started with a foundation in IT, and I first learned about AI as a course in UTP. Alhamdulillah, I managed to graduate, and then I furthered my studies to the University of Manchester, where I did my master's in advanced computer science, majoring in AI. I was a Manchester United fan. I am still a Manchester United fan. So getting a chance to study in the University of Manchester is great, not just because it is a good university, but because I get to do things that I never expected I would, like watching football matches in Old Trafford and meeting star players like Michael Carrick here. After about a year and a half of doing my master's, I furthered PhD, also doing in natural language processing, which is one of the branches of AI. And I graduated in 2017. Then 2018, I started becoming a lecturer in Universiti Teknikal Malaysia Melaka, UTeM, where I teach subjects mostly related to AI. And during my free times, or sometimes even during my busy times, I spend a lot of time with Women in AI Malaysia, organizing events, whereby in our organization, the mission is basically to increase female participation in AI and technology. So we created like webinars, talks, and competitions with attractive prizes to attract more and more women to go into technology and artificial intelligence. Right. Enough about me. Before I start with the main topic, I would like to listen from all of you. So if it's possible, can you go to menti.com and key in the code up here and tell me, when I mention the word artificial intelligence, what's the thing that comes up to mind? It can be anything, right? Let's give a few, maybe a minute or two to get some input from all of you. You managed to get the code. Maybe the organizers can put in the code, yeah? All right, good. Sophia the robot. Any more answers? Self-learning. That's good. There's a lot of you in the participants, right? Automatic, of course. Face detection. Deep technology advances. That's good. Automatic, right? Future, human-like. Human robot. Right, a lot of good answers here. All of you are quite tech savvy. Intelligence in machine, nice. Block, okay. Automatic, yes. Right, technology, of course, AI is a technology. Any more answers? Coding, okay. Tesla, of course, Tesla is one of the pioneers in AI. Okay, pattern analyzing. Good, healthcare, some of the applications. Metrics, all right. Okay, maybe I put a timer. Okay, Jarvis, robot that's similar to human. Hard to learn. Okay, that's an interesting one. Hard to learn. Okay, AI, all right, technology. Okay, I think that's enough. Maybe I would stop here because I got a lot of input. So we can see most of you are saying about technology. Tesla, Siri, yes, Siri is an AI that I think you use almost every day, maybe. Automatic, of course, AI involves a lot of automation, right? Okay, I think we just stop here and I will continue with the presentation. thank you everyone for the input that you've given. That's good. It shows that most of you are aware of what AI is. Okay, so today, what I would like to talk about basically consists of three things. So first is what is AI? So generally the definition of it. And then I would give a few examples and tell you how AI works. And finally, I would just share a bit on why do we need to learn AI. Okay. All right. So before we talk about artificial intelligence, we first need to know intelligence. What do we mean when we say intelligence? So basically, intelligence is the capacity to learn and solve problems, ability to adapt oneself adequately to relatively new situations. So if you've been thrown anywhere, you are able to adapt. And having learned, or the ability to learn to adjust oneself to the environment. So if you look at this, basically you can say that all human beings are intelligent. So these are the main traits, okay? So again, the ability to interact with the real world, learning and adaptation. So as human, we learn and we adapt, and we are able to reason and plan. So these are some small examples of that. So logical thinking, and then some of you just now said about recognizing patterns, making decision, common sense, speaking and writing, that itself show intelligence. And then to perceive the environment, you understand, and then you act according to the environment. It's also intelligence. Self-guidance, predicting, forecasting, problem solving, gathering information, generalize and classify. All these are traits of intelligence. But what about AI? Okay, actually, AI begin with this article here. Okay, Alan Turing, a famous computer scientist. I think a lot of you know him, especially if you watch his a movie on him, The Imitation Game. So he wrote an article here, and he asked the question, can machine think? So this is the question that started everything. So Alan Turing here developed what is called the Turing test. It is originally called the Imitation Game in 1950. The objective is to test whether a machine can exhibit the behavior of human without being detected as a robot. So some question would be like, who is behind the computer? Is it a human? Is it a machine? So if we cannot distinguish whether it's a human or a machine, then would we call this as an AI? So Alan Turing asked the question that if a computer could imitate the sentient behavior of a human, would that not imply that the computer itself was sentient? So sentient here means that the ability to understand feelings. So if robots or computer or machine nowadays can understand feeling, would that mean that they have feeling too? So Alan Turing have all these kind of questions that directed people to start studying about AI. So this is just a building in the University of Manchester, which was dedicated to Alan Turing, called the Alan Turing Building. So in trying to define artificial intelligence, John McCarthy in 1956 defined it as the science and engineering of making intelligent machines, especially intelligent computer programs. So John McCarthy here is one of the pioneers in AI. So this is his definition. But notice that he's just saying intelligent machine, intelligent computer programs. But there were never actually a guide on what defines a machine as intelligent. So few years later, people started coming up with a guide whereby to say that a machine is intelligent, then it should be able to think humanly, think rationally, act humanly, and act rationally. So thinking humanly basically is the basic. So it should be able to think the way human do. So that's the most simplest part, I would say. But it needs to also be able to think rationally. So not just thinking like human, but able to make correct decision. So that is what it meant by thinking rationally. it should also act humanly. So if in the Turing test, if we cannot distinguish whether it's a machine or a human, then that machine managed to act humanly until we got fooled into thinking that it's a human. But it is also supposed to act rationally. So if we build an agent or a robot to play chess, it should be able to play chess to win. Then we consider that he is that robot or whatever is rational. Because of course, when you play a game, you don't want to lose. So if that robot is playing to lose, then that is not acting rationally. Okay, so if a robot, a machine, or a computer manage to achieve this for, then we can say that that machine is intelligent. There are 6 branches of AI: expert systems, robotics, machine learning, neural network, fuzzy logic, and natural language processing. For today, I would only explain further on machine learning and natural language processing because I don't think we have enough time to cover all 6. And machine learning and NLP has a lot of examples that I think you would see in daily life. So like I said, AI is all around us. AI is made possible because technology advanced. So if you can see, this is a picture of what they call the small scale machine called baby. So in 1948, this is considered as small. So imagine if you have this size of a computer to bring around, you cannot do it. How do you have automation when you have to carry this huge thing around, right? If you can see in this picture, there's an iPad, 2 iPads here. So this iPad is a lot smaller than baby, but it is 10,000 times faster than baby. And this kind of advancement and small size of it makes AI something possible today. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. So those of you who have the latest iPhone version, then you would have a face recognition features here. And when you use Facebook or any other social medias, you would see that sometimes it will give you a suggestion to add people because it managed to recognize this as maybe yourself or your friend. If you use Netflix, maybe you're familiar with what we call recommendation. So when you watch a movie, Netflix will then recommend you a similar movie that you might like. So like this, if your sister or your brother, whatever, are kids, you can set so that Netflix only recommends movies or series that are suitable for kids only. And you can also see in your phones now, even without you creating any folders, your phone are smart enough to categorize it according to the picture. So like here, picture of babies, it will put it in one album, and then forest, another album, sports. So you did not tell them this, but it is able to smartly group it for you. All of this is made possible because of machine learning. Okay, so remember that 6 branches of AI. So one of it is machine learning. Machine learning here concerns with computer programs that automatically improve their performance with experience. So we train them, so we give them some examples, and from time to time, the machine would improve themselves. So under machine learning, we have computer vision, recommended system, and prediction system. So computer vision would include all those face detection, facial recognition, and also virtual reality like this. So this is a VR I took in Kuching, Sarawak. So what you do is that you just go to this area and then you point your camera there using a special software, and you would see this screen here suddenly pop up, and then you would listen to some audio. It will explain to you some history of the places, and all this is possible because of AI. So Netflix and all that would fall under recommended system. And with machine learning, we can also predict, which I will show later on some examples. Okay, this is just a simple introduction just to introduce to you how face recognition works. Okay, for AI to be able to detect, I mentioned that they need to learn. So what needs to happen is there must be some data to connect the AI to you. So for example, if now you are training an AI to recognize yourself, or in this case, Siti here. So Siti would need to capture her face. And the more face that she submitted with different expression, the better the AI will perform. So the second stage would be training the AI algorithm. So you put in images related to that subject, maybe looking in front, from the side, from the left, from the back, and then with multiple expressions and maybe different color, different lights. So the more you submit to the AI, the more training the AI goes through, the better it will be in attempting to recognize your face. Okay, so you can use this in many applications. So like in your phone, you use this to unlock your phone. And maybe you can take another example with Siri. When you first got Siri, if you remember, okay, let's not start with Siri, but maybe finger recognition in your phone. So when you have it, the phone does not instantly know you. You will need to put your thumbprint maybe to the side a bit, to the left and all that. That is the process of training. So when you do that, it stores those information, and the next time it detects your thumbprint, it will be able to know that that's you. Same with Siri using your voice. So you train based on your voice, you record your voice, and the next time you call Siri, it will answer to you. Okay, so that's using the same concept known as machine learning. So there's a lot of purpose of using machine learning. So the better you train, the better they get in detecting. So if you can see here, this object looks exactly like a human, except that there's wings. Okay, so a good AI would be able to distinguish between an object and a person. Okay, so if you only submit one photo of this object and one photo of a person, then maybe that AI would say that it's the same thing, it's a person. But if you put a lot of photos like this, showing that a person should be on the ground, not on top here, more and more and more of that, and AI will be able to detect, oh, a person should be on the ground, it shouldn't be flying up here. So if it's above, then it's not a person, it's not a human. Nowadays, AI is even being used in sports. So here is an example in football, whereby when they analyze matches, they look at the position and they can know what kind of moves being made. So like in this image here, it's detecting Lukaku as doing a dummy. Even in the recent Olympics, AI is being used by teams such as China to train their athletes when doing diving, playing ping pong, where they record their video and then look at the position of the athletes. So all this would help in training and improve their performance. We can also use this in agriculture. So you can train AI to pick up fruits that are ripe. Okay, so if it detects that it's red, okay, it's ripe, and it will pick it. Here's an experiment by one of my students. So if you can see here, there's a phone that acts as a sensor. So it will look at all the plants here and determine which one should we pick up. So even though this robot fails to pick it up, but it managed to detect correctly which one should be picked. Okay, so these are some of the purposes of using computer vision and machine learning in real life. And now, as we get more and more advanced, we also have what you would know as Internet of Things. So these are some applications and tools that you can put in your home so that you can control parts of your houses. So this is Apple's HomePod. So if you say open the light or something like that, then it will turn it on for you. Same goes with Google's Nest Hub and Samsung Smart Things. So if you can see in this image, it's using an app, so not voice activated. So you can be anywhere, and then maybe you look at the app, oh, my front door is not locked. So by just using that app, you can lock your door even when you're not there. And maybe you have some experience conversing with a chatbot. So this is Nike's chatbot, whereby you can ask some questions, ask for recommendations on products. And this is a search, Google search box. So when you search for something, so for example, I just wrote, what is a? It will suggest to you some of the possible questions that you might want. And this is another example. You wrote something here, and then the AI will tell you whether it is correct or not, whether it has clarity, how is the rank of the delivery. So all these are in text, but AI is able to understand. So how is that actually? This is another example. There's an image here in English. So this person is not English. So what he did is he just point his camera to the image. So using image recognition, it will be able to detect the words, and then using what we call natural language processing, which I will explain further later, it translates it into Spanish. So if you have Google Translate in your phone, you can also try this. Point it to a text, an image or whatever that contains text in another language, and it will translate it for you. And this is another example. This is Cortana. I think Madam Azina did mention this in the first module just now, whereby Cortana is able to read your email and then summarize it. So like here, it's saying you have an outstanding task, so you should sync up on regression tests, you have weekly team meeting. So AI is able to do this. So behind the scene, it reads your email, it collects the necessary information, and it reminds you on what you should do. So all these are made possible by natural language processing. Natural language processing, or NLP, is a field of AI that enables computers to analyze and understand human language. So it can be in form of text, it can also be in form of speech. The ultimate objective is to read, decipher, understand, and then make sense. So if in a human and AI conversation, so like maybe you're talking to your Siri, this is what actually happens. So you talk to the AI will take the audio, convert it into text. So for example here, it's hello. It will then be converted into a language that the machine would understand. So 0, 1, 1, 0, 100 here. And then the robot will hear it. It will hear, it will understand, it will make sense, and the same cycle will happen. It will return to the human in the form of an audio or a text that the human would understand. So if you say hello, it will reply hello back. It wouldn't reply 0, 1, 1, 0, 100 because it doesn't make sense, right? So in general, that's how it works. Whether this is for speech, but for text, there's a lot of training that needs to be done using concepts either like rule-based. So you have a text and then you put in verbs, objects, and that and things like that, so that the AI would understand. There's a lot of applications that you can use with NLP. So this is one example, whereby in this real case, they tried to predict heart disease using Twitter. So what this project does was they took a lot of tweets, usually it will be thousands, to look at what these people are tweeting about, maybe on food or on their sedentary lifestyles. And they collect this, put it in different topics, analyze it, and try to predict whether the person is going to get heart disease at some time. Okay, so this is the prediction. This is the real case. So as you can see, it doesn't run too far. So maybe you see more rates here and here, but not here. But if you look at it in one glance, it looks the same. So this shows that your social media and all that, it contains a lot of data which is powerful, which can be used to learn a lot of things, human behavior, medical purposes, or even in maybe if you're a politician, you wanted to get a spot, you can use AI and social media to get people's sentiment or people's opinion about you. So if in business, you could also do the same thing. So maybe you just launch a product. You want to know what are people thinking about your product. So you can use social media like Twitter or whatever and get the text, try to label the words. So like, okay, Cristiano Ronaldo just joined Manchester United again, right? So there's a lot of tweet about him. So you can see from the tweet whether it's a positive tweet or a negative tweet, or is it a neutral tweet. So from there, you can come up with statistics to show that generally the public is happy or not happy with the transfer of Cristiano Ronaldo back to Manchester United. Okay, so there's a lot of things that you can do when you get to master AI. Another thing would be for targeted marketing. I'm sure you have this experience whereby you Googled something, and then when you open Facebook, there's an ad about the thing that you Googled. Okay, so that is some sort of targeted marketing. They shared information, so all these providers shared information between themselves to give better experience to you. Of course, there's an option for you to turn off these features. So if you don't want this, you can turn off the features in Facebook or Twitter and all that. But if you don't turn it off, then you would get suggestions related to you. If you turn it off, you will still see ads, but those ads might not benefit you. Okay, so maybe if you like to buy clothes, if you turn off the features, you would get ad on something else, food or whatever. But if you turn it on and then you just search about a particular clothing that you like, you would see the relevant advertisement. So it depends on people. Some are afraid of security issues, of course, but some find it beneficial as well because you are looking for a product and you get suggestions. You don't need to search for it, you get suggestions. So it might be helpful as well, depending on your own preference. Okay, so we've come to the last part of the talk today. It's quite short, yeah. So why learn AI? Why do we need to know about AI and all this? So even if you're not studying computer science or technological course, I think it's still important for you to at least know what AI is and understand what is happening around. Basically, because firstly, there's a lot of benefit about AI here. Not just in computer science, but in various fields. You can just name whatever field that you want, and I'm sure there's AI in it. But of course, AI here, it's like a weapon. When it's too advanced, you can use it for good, you can use it for bad. So if you use it wisely, you will get all the benefits. But if you use it for bad, then of course, what you get is something that is bad. But since it's everywhere, you should at least know what it is and how it works, so that you understand simple things like, for example, the advertisement just now. At least you would know, oh, why does this happen? And then later on, because nowadays people are talking a lot about autonomous vehicle. So if later on it becomes a reality, if you don't learn the technology, you'll be behind and you will not be able to embrace it. And lastly, AI is the job of the future. So if you learn AI, seriously as a course, so that you can get into AI professions, then you would have a lot of opportunities. So these are some examples. This is being taken by the World Economic Forum last year, 2020, where it is reporting about the future of jobs. So if you can see here, the top 10 job roles increasing in demand in all industries, so not just technological industries, between 2020 to 2025, the top 3 is all AI related. So number 1 is data analyst and scientist. Second is AI and machine learning specialist. Third is big data specialist. And then the others are more into business and general technical, like digital transformation, information security and all that. But process automation is AI. And lastly, number 10 is Internet of Things. Working in AI field, even in Malaysia, does give you quite a good salary. This is, I refer this to JobStreet to look at the average salary and maximum salary. So as a data scientist, what you need to do is to look at large amount of unstructured data and structured data to look at trends, try to identify the patterns, and then come up with insights or solutions to problems. So this is the job of data scientists. Data scientists can be anywhere. So if you're in the oil and gas sector, in PETRONAS, for example, that would be a data scientist. Okay, they would look at problems related to oil and gas, maybe looking at predictions on where is the next place that you should dig for oil, or maybe predicting the price of oil or fuel or whatever based on the current economic situations. Even if you're in healthcare, there's also data scientists looking at patient reports, predicting whether a patient would come back sick, or predicting the number of patients that would come. And even in this pandemic just now, right now, we do have data scientists projecting when our cases would go down, what should be done so that it will go, the curve will go down, or if we don't do this, what's going to happen to the curve. So all these are the works of data scientists. Okay, and the salary is quite good, I would say. The average salary would be around 7,299, and the maximum salary can go up to 15,000. This is just data scientists. You're not yet a senior data scientist or a lead data scientist. So of course, when you get higher up in the ranks, you would get a lot more than this. There's also a job called AI specialist. So AI specialist here, basically, the work is to plan out how to get computers to think or behave in ways that usually needs human intelligence. So like driving a car, you would need human intelligence because you would need to know when to stop, when to turn right, turn left, and stuff like this. So AI specialist works on getting this automation done. So the average salary is 7,490, so almost the same like data scientist is now, and the maximum is also 11,500. And there's another what we call as machine learning specialist. So machine learning specialist, the work is more on working on algorithm. So AI basically looks at the way they think and the overall part of it. Machine learning focuses on, I would say, the brain of the automation, so the algorithm that works behind it. So a machine learning specialist would need to learn to adapt to data. So it's going to be a huge amount of data. Which part of that data that needs to be used? What kind of predictions that we can make? What benefits that this data can bring? So they need to do all the thinking about this and get an algorithm that can fit an AI to solve the problem. Okay, so the salary is almost the same. So I would say if you get an AI jobs here in Malaysia, you would get an average salary of 7,475, something like that, and a maximum salary of 11,500. Right. So, before I end, I'm almost at the end now. I would just like to tell a story about this guy called Gary Kasparov. Not sure if you are familiar with him. If you play chess, then most probably you would know him. Gary Kasparov here is the world champion for chess. So you can consider Gary Kasparov as the first person to have ever had threats to his career from AI. Because in 1997, he lost to a machine called Deep Blue. So imagine a world champion took many years to learn chess, training and all that, all those hard work. And in just one game, he lost to a machine called Deep Blue. All right. But Gary Kasparov took it positively. He never feels like it is a threat to him. He feels like this is a chance to get better. So today, Gary Kasparov became someone who advocates human and machine collaboration. So he says that if you cannot beat the machine, you join them. This is the concept that is being sold right now as well. So you can see AI is everywhere. Some people worry about them taking our jobs and so forth. So to avoid that from happening, we need to work together hand in hand with machines. We cannot deny that they're getting more and more advanced, but you need to remember that machine became that way because of human as well. Okay, so instead of worrying about how powerful AI can be in the future and what's going to happen when AI is that powerful, we should be more concerned of the intelligence of the people today. So like Gary Kasparov here is talking about the Oval Office, so which is the White House in US, but we can apply this in our daily life. So do not worry too much about what's going to happen if AI becomes more advanced and so forth, but worry more about how we can leverage that. How do we improve ourselves and how do we work together with AI so that when they manage to do our job, we can do something much better than that, something that they cannot do. Because creativity, rational thinking, emotions, there are a lot of things that AI could not do as good as human beings. All right. Okay, so I think that's it for my talk. But before I open for question and answer, I would just like to promote that Women in AI, we are having a 1 week summit on 13 to 17 September. Okay, so we're going to have a lot of talks from AI players and data science players from the industry, from the academia, not just in Malaysia. We also have speakers from Japan, South Africa, and some other places. So I would like to invite all of you, if you're interested, it's free to join. You just need to scan this and register. I believe that later on, Techpod will also put this in their social media, yeah? All right, so that's all from me today. Thank you very much. If you have any questions later on, you can get connected to me using any of these social media links. Thank you, everyone. I return to the MC, yeah?
Right. Wow, what an interesting sharing session here. Thank you, Dr. Nur Zareen, for your sharing. Attention to all participants. Our committee have sent a feedback form in the chat box, and please fill in the form if you have any questions on the topic. Next, we will open the floor to any questions from the audience regarding Module 4. Participants, you may raise your hand and unmute your mic for the question or type in your questions in the chat box. So I will read the first question from the form. As a petroleum engineering student, how can I start up the artificial intelligence scope of work and knowledge for additional skill? And where to get it and what type of software or approach? You may answer, Doctor.
All right, thank you. It's a good question, and I have a good example about that. I have a friend who's a graduate in petroleum engineering, but now working as a data scientist. What she did was, after she graduated, she get some experience in petroleum engineering. So working as a petroleum engineer first, and then she went for a 6-month training under MDEC on data science. So MDEC has a lot of this upskilling courses that you might want to look at. So it's a short term, and I believe people from any background should be able to attend. So she did that. She went for a 6-month course, and then she managed to get a job as a data scientist. And for me, if you have experience in other field, it will be a bonus, because you don't just know the technology, which is data science and AI, but you also know the domain, which is oil and gas or petroleum. Okay, hopefully that answers the question.
Next question is, can the current technologies in the world be used to achieve a peaceful and sustainable world?
The current technologies.
Yes.
All right. Like I mentioned before this, technology is powerful. So it's hard to answer. There's two answers actually, whether it can or cannot. It can. Logically, it can help sustain the world. But it depends on how we use it. If you use it towards good, of course, you can use AI for agriculture, for example. So you can increase the amount of crop compared to before this. So instead of having maybe a few kilos of rice, with the help of AI, you are able to maintain the moisture of the soil and reduce any other problems regarding the crop, and you would get more. Okay, but if you use AI for that, of course you can sustain. But if you use AI for destruction, then you would not be able to sustain the world. So it's powerful, but what happens depends on how you use it. That would be my answer.
Right, thank you, Doctor. So for the next question is, what does the AI company wants from fresh graduates to possess to apply for a job in the AI field? Okay.
Obviously, it will be the skills. So depending on the job that you apply for, they would look at how well you are able to use common technologies in AI. So for example, if you want to work as a machine learning engineer, depending on the company, but you would use some kind of software such as RapidMiner. So if you have a very good technical skill on that, or maybe you have certification regarding RapidMiner, then it will be a bonus. Other than that, it will be your programming skill, so basic programming skill. But it depends as well. If you are working in a non-technological company, so just doing analysis, prediction and all that, nothing at the back end, then you might not need programming so much, more on the analytic skill. But if you're working in the back end, coming up with algorithms and all that, then they will look at your programming skill. Other than that would be, of course, teamwork. Even though as a programmer or as an AI specialist and all that, you can work from home remotely, yes, but you would still need to communicate with other people, because usually it will be a huge project that you would work together with. So I would say the technical skills would play an important role, as well as your public relation skills as well, teamwork and all that.
All right, thank you, Dr. Zareen, for the question. The participant, if you have any questions, just put in the chat box. I will read the questions later on. But this is a question personally for myself. What is your opinion on the latest product being presented by the Tesla, about Tesla bot? Is it like it will be taking over human tasks, or what is your opinion on that?
Okay. One of the favorite questions when we talk about AI is always whether they're going to take over the world, right? For me, it's not something that you should worry. Like what Garry Kasparov mentioned just now, in order to move forward, we need to work hand in hand with AI. So Tesla bot and all that. AI on its own is powerful. Human on its own is also powerful. But when we work hand in hand, we become much more powerful. So if you worry about jobs being taken away from you, maybe I can give an example about, if you know, a few weeks ago, I think, there's a viral story about a Malaysian working in Tesla.
Yes.
A lady, I don't remember the name right now. Yeah, she works as a robot trainer. So of course, Tesla comes out with all this Tesla bot, the car and stuff, but behind it is always human. So in order to keep up to date with AI, you need to keep up your skills. So human nowadays no longer need to do all the routinous work. So maybe if in the factories there will be more machine, human now will need to work more on parts where you need to think, using more of your what do I say, higher skill compared to the normal skill of just assembling things. So I would say you don't need to worry about robot taking over the world or whatever, because it's still humans that's in control.
Right, thank you, Doctor, for the answer. Really
Alright.
answers the question. So next I will read your question from the chat box. I think it's quite related to the answers you give just now as well, but I will
Alright.
just read your question.
Okay.
Question from Nabila. Looking at the AI development we have today,
Mhm.
can we trust AI completely in managing our daily lives?
Okay. Good question, Nabila. I think, yeah, like Azami said, my answers before this would be almost the same. We can trust AI, but like I mentioned, the bad person here is not the AI, but it's the human being. Okay, so I give you two examples. The first example is you're using AI in your daily lives. There's a lot of benefit. So like if you're wearing a smartwatch, you're able to track your health, your heartbeat, and even some smartwatches now can help with triggering. If let's say your heartbeat is very low, it can trigger so that an ambulance can come and things like that. So in one way, it gives benefit. It can help you with managing your work, get organized. Of course, if you give AI to manage your daily life, you will be able to do that. Let's say your home is equipped with Internet of Things. So on your way back home, you can turn on the aircon straight away. So when you arrive, it's already cold. Maybe you can leave a rice inside your cooker. So on the way home, you click on from your mobile app and the rice is there. Of course, that's good. But like I mentioned, the bad person here is the human beings. So if you equip your whole home with Internet of Things, it is secure. Of course, we won't do that if it's not secure. But some people with extraordinary skills could be able to hack. So this problem would make AI something that maybe you would say, can we trust them? Something like that. So we need something to fall back to. Same like videos. Okay, if you know, there's a lot of videos, what we call as deep fake, whereby you use another person's face and then another person's voice, but the face can mimic exactly that voice, so it looks like a real thing. Of course, that's gonna give bad consequences. But if you don't learn AI, you cannot undo that. If you have a lot of people who knows how to do deepfake videos, you need to have someone who would know to detect that. Okay, so it comes back to the question of how you use the technology, lah, I would say. All right.
Right, okay.
Mhm.
So the next question from the chat box as well from the participants is quite long, but
Okay.
question. it's not only when we Google search something and some ad related to the things we search suddenly pop up, but in my experience, even when I chat with my friend on WhatsApp and when I open YouTube, suddenly the things that I talk about with my friends appeared. Why is that? And isn't that some sort of privacy invasion?
Well, this is a very good question, and I think Mr. Edwan just now would be more suitable to answer this. Yeah, it might involve privacy issue, but on the technical side of it, WhatsApp is owned by Facebook. I'm not sure. I don't think YouTube is owned by Facebook. I'm not sure about that. But these companies, they do share some portion of that data between one another. So it always goes back to the privacy signing that we use. So sometimes it's the data between the companies. Sometimes it's in your mobile itself. So if you notice in iPhone, we have the option to select or not whether we are able to track the app. There's a setting in your phone to disallow that. So when you WhatsApp, it might not appear somewhere else. Okay, so that goes back to your security setting lah. Of course, companies, when they do that, the standard setting would be to allow. So you need to disallow it. So this is more towards security issue lah. But on the technical side, they are able to do that because the data is being stored. So either to being stored in the company itself or on your device. Okay, so I hope that answers it.
Thank you, Doctor. I hope the answer just given just now answers your question. Next question is from Nur Danya. What are the differences between strong and weak AI?
Okay, strong and weak AI. Okay, this is a good question. Are you a technical student? As well, this is quite a technical question.
I think technical student.
Okay, strong and weak AI. Okay, I would say weak AI would be the common AI that we have in our daily life right now. So macam things as simple as Siri, that is an AI, but the ability is quite straightforward and quite simple. It's just for the use of daily life. Whereby strong AI would be more on making bigger decisions, something like autonomous vehicle. That would be a strong AI, because like Siri, it just answers your question, it just helps you with organizing, but it doesn't make decision for you. Autonomous vehicle, it makes decision for you as well. So if you want to go somewhere, it decides what's the shortest route. If there's a cat running in front of the car, it decides whether to stop or to slow down. So that would be considered as a strong AI. While the everyday usage such as Siri would be more of a weak AI. Alright.
Okay, Doctor. Next question is from Farahin. Is it true that one day AI can take over architect and civil engineer that works especially in designing the building, and also for the structure analysis?
Okay. Like I said, AI here is more of making things easier. What AI cannot take from us is creativity. Okay, so architects, civil engineering, okay, for example, drawing plans, whatever. So if you have a lot of, okay, let's say you are building a shopping complex, and there have been a lot of blueprints on that shopping complex. So what AI can do, they can get all these blueprints and maybe generate its own blueprint or its own idea. Of course, they can do that. Same goes for in my field, NLP. Nowadays, even AI can do coding for you. So you just mention what you want. So this AI would have a lot of libraries on codes and stuff. And based on our description, it will go to that library and train itself to come up with the coding. Of course, AI can do that. But in order for that to be possible, the material, the data there needs to be there first. And that would only come from human beings. So for it to happen, it could happen, but I wouldn't say in the very near future. And once it happened, AI can only come up with what's there. So from at one time, it's gonna be the same thing, you know. And we human beings, we always evolve. So I would say it's important to keep your creativity, your problem-solving skills. Those are the skills that AI would not have, because AI learns from what it has, but we can think more than that. So problem-solving and creativity would be an important thing that you should acquire when you're studying and all that. Okay.
All right. Thank you for the answer. Next, I think this will be the last question for this module session from Bro Hazwani. I believe IR 5.0, Industrial Revolution 5.0 will use a lot of AI. How far Malaysia has been prepared for the upcoming IR 5.0?
Okay. Currently, we would say that we are advancing to RI 4.0. So 5.0 talks more about society lah. Taking into account ethical AI, things that are related to the society, benefit society. I would say, in terms of the brain, our Malaysians are there. I think I would say we're quite ready for 5.0. But the challenge is the technology, the infrastructure. Even 4.0, we struggle because of infrastructure. Maybe you can see a lot of IR 4.0 being applied in the city centers, but not in the rural areas. Okay, so I would say brain-wise, human factor, human resources-wise, we're there. But I think in terms of technological advancement, infrastructure, we're a bit far back. That's my opinion on this.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Nur Zareen, for answering all the questions from the participants. I hope that the answer given by the Dr. Nur Zareen just now answers your question, and I believe that we have no more questions from the audience. Hence, that marks the end of our module 3.